Trump sat in the Situation Room with every senior national security official he has. The topic: devastating strikes on strategic targets across Iran. Not just the Strait, all of Iran. Next week, power plants, bridges, Pickaxe Mountain, Iran's suspected nuclear site. A naval blockade just took effect, and America isn't winding this down. It's winding up. The United States appears to be preparing for a major escalation in its military campaign against Iran, as President Donald Trump convened a high-level Situation Room meeting on July 14th to discuss plans for a broader offensive extending well beyond the current strikes around the Strait of Hormuz. According to an Axios report citing 3 sources familiar with the discussions, Trump is prepared to intensify military pressure in an effort to force Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and accept Washington's demands over its nuclear program. Sources familiar with the meeting said discussions centered on expanding the military campaign beyond the Strait of Hormuz.
The meeting focused on new plans for devastating strikes on strategic targets in Iran, in addition to the strikes against Iranian targets in the Strait of Hormuz.
The meeting came as U.S. Central Command carried out its 4th consecutive day of strikes against Iranian military infrastructure along the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's southern coastline. U.S. officials said the latest operations primarily targeted air defense systems, radar installations, anti-ship missile positions, and drone launch sites, aiming to weaken Iran's ability to threaten international shipping. While the United States continued its military campaign, Iran reportedly responded by launching additional missiles and drones toward U.S. military bases in Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain, further expanding the regional confrontation. According to Axios, Trump was joined in the Situation Room by Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs General Dan Kane, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, White House envoy Steve Witkoff, and other senior national security officials. The White House declined to comment on the reported meeting or its objectives. The same day, in an interview with Fox News, Trump signaled that the military campaign was set to intensify dramatically over the coming days.
We're going to hit them very hard the night after, and then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants, next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants, we're going to knock out all their bridges, unless they get to the table and negotiate.
Trump then warned that an even broader phase of the campaign could follow if Tehran refused to negotiate. The president also revealed that Washington is closely monitoring Pickaxe Mountain, a deeply buried underground facility near Iran's nuclear infrastructure that US and Israeli officials suspect could support Tehran's nuclear program.
By the way, nobody knows if they even are doing anything in Pickaxe. It's just something that comes up. We have cameras on it. There's very little activity there. But if there's even just a small amount, we'll hit it, and we'll hit it hard.
Trump also claimed that America's bunker buster bombs are capable of penetrating deep underground, while acknowledging uncertainty over whether the Pickaxe Mountain complex is fully immune to such strikes. Meanwhile, the U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports officially came into effect on July 14th, adding further pressure on Tehran as both sides continue to exchange military attacks, raising fears that the conflict could enter an even more dangerous phase in the days ahead. The confrontation between the United States and Iran is widening beyond direct military strikes, with both sides now issuing increasingly aggressive warnings over the future of energy security and the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical maritime choke points. On July 15th, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed it had launched attacks targeting facilities linked to the US Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, signaling what it described as another phase of its retaliation against American military operations in the Gulf.
The attack was aimed at command and control centers, logistics facilities, fuel depots, and military equipment sites. The attacks were in response to U.S. hostile actions, and the enemy should expect the closure of other oil and gas export routes that serve the interests of America and its allies. If Washington attempts to restrict oil and gas exports by controlling regional shipping routes, other export routes serving U.S. and allied interests could be shut down as well. Energy exports in the region would be for everyone or for no one.
Iran's warning came as the IRGC also vowed broader retaliation if Washington continued military operations aimed at controlling regional shipping lanes. According to the IRGC-linked Fars news agency, Iran also struck what it described as a critical facility in Kuwait on July 15th, triggering multiple explosions and a fire. The claims have not been independently verified, and there has been no immediate confirmation from Kuwaiti authorities. Meanwhile, the United States announced another major round of military operations.
U.S. Central Command completed an additional round of strikes against Iran at 10 p.m. ET, July 14th, hitting dozens of military targets near the Strait of Hormuz and Iranian coastal areas.
CENTCOM said the strikes were part of its continuing campaign to degrade Iran's military capabilities around the strategic waterway. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper also accused Tehran of escalating attacks against civilian shipping.
Over the past 7 days, Iran has intentionally targeted civilians across the region by attacking 7 commercial ships, resulting in nearly a dozen civilian crew members killed, missing, or injured. Iranian forces have also launched dozens of missiles and drones toward neighboring Gulf countries. U.S. forces are holding Iran accountable for unwarranted aggression that continues to endanger innocent lives.
As military operations intensified, Tehran hardened its diplomatic position. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi ruled out renewed negotiations with Washington and insisted Iran would maintain its restrictions in the Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the end of America's evils. Tehran would not be the first to return to talks after accusing Washington of derailing the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding through its military actions.
Garibabadi further argued that increased military pressure would not force Tehran back to the negotiating table.
Iran had not abandoned diplomacy, and it was the U.S. that had disrupted the negotiation process. Any assumption that increased pressure or military action could force Iran to seek talks was a mistake, as Tehran would not change its position on the Strait of Hormuz or ease restrictions it has imposed there. We will never request negotiations with the U.S.
In another statement, Iran's military claimed it had once again struck the US-linked Azraq Air Base in Jordan, which hosts American personnel. Jordan, the Pentagon, and US Central Command had not commented on the claim at the time of reporting. On the American side, President Donald Trump, speaking to Fox News on July 14th, made it clear that the military campaign would continue.
They'll continue until I say it's enough. I mean, they'll continue. They've been, the word the military likes to use is degrade. They've been degraded to a very low level. And they have fight. It's like a great boxer. You think you have him beat, and then all of a sudden he comes back and he gives you a shot. They have some fight left, but they don't have much. And
Trump also suggested the campaign could expand dramatically if Iran refused to negotiate.
As far as taking it is concerned, if we degrade them far enough and deep enough back, I would do that.
Do you anticipate that the strikes we're seeing this week against Iran will expand? Are you considering hitting energy targets or other locations inside of Iran?
I'll save the energy targets for last, but ultimately we'll hit energy targets, yeah. But we're going to hit them very hard tonight. We're going to hit them very hard tomorrow night. We're going to hit them very hard the night after. And then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
With Washington expanding its military campaign, Tehran threatening energy routes, and diplomacy appearing frozen, the Gulf region is witnessing one of its most dangerous military standoffs in years, with the security of global energy supplies increasingly at the center of the conflict.